Go back on the record after taking our lunch break, and Attorney Gill, you can go ahead and continue with your cross-examination of Ms. Harris.
Ms. Harris, I'd like you to take a look at what's been marked as Response Exhibit 13, specifically ERD page 308.
Just 1 second. Okay, so that should be up on the screen now. Can you see that, Ms. Harris?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Harris, I'm representing to you that this is an exhibit provided by the respondent, but it's related to your time card, so it would be your pay records. Can you take a look at the date Monday, February 8th, 2021?
Yes.
Do you can you see in the pay code section what it indicates for that day?
Yes.
What does it indicate?
A code 10 FMLA.
Correct. And so, pursuant to your own testimony, you'd indicated that you were off on the February 8th for a flare-up, correct?
Yes.
And the company's record indicates that you was out for FMLA, correct? According to what we've shown you.
Yes.
And then February 8th, 2021 would have been prior to the approval you received for FMLA on February 11th, 2021, correct?
Yes.
So in response to your testimony before, according to these records, your prior absence was backdated and approved for FMLA prior to February 11th, correct?
I don't know. I don't know when they applied this. We had the ability of modifying afterwards, so I cannot speak to when that was applied, sir.
Okay, well, I'm indicating that your formal approval FMLA was on February 11th, 2021, correct?
Yes, sir.
And February 8th is before February 11th, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, now I'd like you to turn to page 275, employers 275, which is exhibit 9.
Okay, so this is page 275 of Exhibit 9.
So Ms. Harris, exhibit 9 is the paperwork filled out for your certification of FMLA request, correct?
Yes.
And right above the number 2 section, what does it indicate was the patient's nature of the treatments being requested?
You said right above the 2 section, sir?
Well, with section number 2, there's handwritten notes right above it indicating the request for 2 items. And did they indicate
Yep.
ET and plastic surgery?
Yes.
So your FMLA paperwork that you submitted pursuant to your testimony, which was on or around, the company would have got it on around January 11th, 2021. You're requesting in the same document both PT and plastic surgery, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so, and we referenced in the prior approval, or the approval, which was employers exhibit 14, ERD page number 310. Prior to our break, you had read into the record that it indicated that all leave taken for this reason will be designated as FMLA leave, correct?
Yes, sir.
And this document was in response to your application, which references it is Employers Exhibit 9, correct?
I do not recall what exhibit it's under, but this would have been what was emailed to me.
I understand that, but I'm indicating that the approval you got for Exhibit 14 was in response to your application that you submitted, which was Employers Exhibit 9, correct?
Can you pull up Exhibit 9, please?
Sure. And we were looking at this page specifically before.
Okay. Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. And
May I ask a question, Attorney Gill?
Not yet. You have to answer his questions. If you have a question or something you want to say, write it down. And when he's done asking you questions, you can bring it up.
Yes. Okay, I apologize for interrupting. Go right ahead.
on page 276, I just want to confirm that you indicated in your prior testimony that the frequency of 3 times per month was information that you provided to your healthcare provider, not the other way around. Is that correct?
Yes, my healthcare provider asked me, how often am I having my flare-ups? And I told her based on,
You took that based upon your word, correct?
excuse me?
The healthcare provider inputted that information based upon what you provided them, not on a physical assessment that he made of you, correct?
She said, how often was I having the flare-ups? And I told her yes. So that would be yes. I told her that that's how often I'm having them at that time.
Okay. Could we take a look at Employers Exhibit 18, page number 325?
Okay, so this is page 325.
So, Ms. Harris, you referred to this exhibit in your testimony in your case in chief, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you testified that it was somehow related to your back. Do you recall that?
What I explained, you had asked me if I had previously been written up for my condition, and I had indicated that yes, there was a written coaching that was documented, and yes, it had in there the days that I had missed for my back flare up.
Okay, well, that's not true, is it?
Excuse me?
That's not true that Exhibit 18 related to your back or any of your back flares up. That's not true, is it?
Yes, it is, sir. It
Is it
I had a
Exhibit 18 was related to your nephew Lincoln and the fact that you were attempting to get custody of your nephew Lincoln and that you'd been missing work because of childcare needs and that it had nothing to do with your back?
no, sir. So I actually had custody of my nephew at that time. Um, in addition to that, I believe that was around the time my sister was dealing with breast cancer. So in this, I did have a back flare up, and I did have to miss work because of it.
Okay, this warning itself was related to you being disciplined for not showing up on time as it relates to taking care of Lincoln. And
No,
uh,
sir.
and at that point in time, isn't it accurate the company had no knowledge of a back flare up or back issue?
I did not submit FMLA paperwork during this time. You had asked me if I had been written up due to my back, or was there any disciplinary documentation? And I said yes, as early as October 15th. And
I,
it
I asked you,
states in here, due to my back injury, I had missed work on 9/3, sir.
I asked you if you'd ever been written up for anything FMLA related and given a warning for your attendance, and you referred to this verbal coaching from 2 years prior. And my question is, this was related to the care of your nephew. This had nothing to do with the back issue, correct?
Reasons that I had missed work during that time were related to my back issue.
Did you ever request FMLA for your back in 2019?
No, sir, I said that. No, I hadn't. At that time, I didn't know what was going on with my body. Again, you had asked me if I had received any disciplinary um documentation. So that is the reason why I had referenced this one, because yes, I had.
Okay,
It
so do you
was
want,
included
you want,
in a write-up.
you want,
Sorry, go ahead, Attorney Gill.
go ahead.
No, go right ahead. That's what I was telling you to do. I apologize. I
So
have a bit of a delay.
do you want to correct your testimony in reference to the fact that Exhibit 18 had nothing to do with exercising FMLA or your back condition?
No, I don't want to correct that because I was having flare-ups then, sir, and I did miss work during this time because of my back pain.
Isn't it true you never told anybody in 2019 about any back pain or flare-ups?
I did tell individuals, which is why it's stated in this document. Um,
Show me
I
where,
communicated I communicated that I injured my back.
I want you to show me where it's stated in this document that refers to your back.
Okay, if you go to the second paragraph, if you start with it states injuring her back and missed a full day of unplanned work previous on Monday, 9/30, in addition to the absence on Monday, 10/14.
So did you have an injury on that day?
I had a flare up. Yes, sir.
Did you ever request FMLA in 2019?
As I stated before, I had not, sir.
Okay.
Only
And you didn't do it in 2020 either?
in 2020, I did request FMLA, sir.
Okay.
2019, I had not, because we weren't sure what the heck was going on with me. I was just having flare-ups. I was on medication, and then we were, as I stated before, experimenting with different medications to figure it out, so to manage the pain. But no, again, I did not have any FMLA documentation submitted to the company during this time period. You had asked me if I had disciplinary action or documented disciplinary action. And that is why I referenced this, because my back injury is, and back condition is indicated in this write-up.
Were you having issues with showing up for work on time because of the childcare needs of your nephew Lincoln?
On time, and I had to miss a few days because his daycare would not allow him to come in if he was sick. He had a upper respiratory illness, and I couldn't find daycares that were comfortable with dealing with that. So it would cause me to work from home, and or miss work. Yes. So some of the absences and tardinesses were related to me caring for my nephew, as well as caring for my sister that had breast cancer at that time.
Okay. 1 second, Your Honor. Judge, I have no further questions of Ms. Harris.
Okay, Ms. Harris, I had one follow-up question for you. When Attorney Gill was questioning you, there was some testimony about a meeting that took place on February 23rd of 2021. I guess that would have been.
Yes, ma'am. That was the day that I resigned.
Who was in that meeting with you?
Kyle Dolan and Mona Craft.
And why did the meeting occur?
The meeting occurred because on February 18th, 2021, I was suspended. On February 17th, 2021, I was responsible for, we were still shorthanded, and I was responsible for doing document review. Again, that involved me working late start hours and staying until I did my document review. Upon leaving, I accidentally took some of the production documents home. They got intermingled with my project files and folders. On the 18th, when I arrived, Cindy Mott's Song Bang and Tiffany Jakowski, which Song Bang was my manager at the time. Tiffany and Cindy were quality auditors, had made mention of missing documentation, and they were looking for the production records from the day before. We had spent the morning or some of the morning looking for them, And then when I unloaded my roller bag, I found some of the production documents in there. I was called to the office of by Songvang in Mona Craft, and I had received a suspension pending investigation on that day for taking documentation offsite.
So then you had a meeting on the 23rd. That was
Yep.
everything that when you said you were
Yes.
called into the office by Songvang and Mona Craft, that was on the 23rd.
That was on the 18th. I was suspended
Okay.
from work, and I was told to come back in via phone call, voicemail on the 22nd to report to work on the 23rd. Um, and that's when I learned that the suspension would stand. Um, and yeah, so that was the day that I had resigned. So that was the meeting. The meeting on the 23rd was the conclusion of the suspension investigation, and where I received next steps, planned next steps.
Okay, and instead of doing those next steps, you decided to resign?
Um, Essentially, yes. So I was presented with the write-up, and then I was presented with a update to my PIP, personal improvement plan, that had various items documented, one of which was I was it was being added to my personal improvement plan, that because Tiffany Jakowski had sent an email to the group regarding, I believe, coverage, and she had sent she sent the text message, and she sent the text message to my personal phone, not my work phone. Um, and she re-sent the text message to my work phone after she realized that she sent it to the wrong number. In that handout that I received, it stated that I caused confusion of some sort, and I had asked Kyle and Mona how that could be counted against me, because I have no control over that situation. I had no control over who sends what from their cellular devices and to whom or what numbers. And they weren't able to answer that. They said Song Vang was actually the individual that noted it, and he was not present. um, I had made a point to say this is indicative of majority of the PIP documentation. It's blanketed statements that don't give the full scenarios or full truths of the situation. I communicated that, and Mona and Kyle stated that it wasn't up for discussion at that time. This is only related to the infraction of taking documentation off site. Um, Mona stepped away. Kyle muttered something under his breath, and then when I had asked him what he said, he said that he hoped we could move past this point, and I told him I don't know how, if everything that I do is up for documentation into my PIP. Um, I don't, I did, I told him I don't know how to counteract these things. Mona entered back into the room. She handed me my documentation. Kyle said that he wanted to give me time to get myself together. I told him I did have some appointments that I needed to cancel. Uh, upon returning back, I left the building, went to my car, came back into the building, and was approached by Mona again, asking me to enter into the conference room. Kyle had shared the conversation that he and I had while she was out of the room. And at that point, I have my statement somewhere around here, but we continue to have a conversation, and I then after that resigned.
Okay. Is there anything else, Ms. Harris, you want to testify about your discrimination complaint?
Yes. So if we pull up exhibit, let me see my exhibits. I think it would be, I think it's exhibit 7 of mine. It's the company policy. But it may not be. I'm looking for the PowerPoint now. I'm sorry, not PowerPoint, the PDF. Now
I think
that's
it's
not the.
exhibit 4, maybe.
Okay, yes. Well, can you try that one?
Do you see that on your screen?
Yes, ma'am. If you scroll down to the last page, I believe.
So I think this should be on the bottom. It's going to say ERD 031. I think this is the last page here.
Yes. So, I'd like to make a note here that their policy states that the employee would receive notification after the company receives my FMLA documentation within a certain time period, and that was exceeded um, based on their policy. So I would have submitted documentation on the 8th and did not receive an approval until February 11th. In addition to that, believe it's in their policy as well that I was to be the primary contact to resolve any concerns the company had. I was not notified that the company had any issues regarding the documentation that was initially submitted. Um, I learned that there were several conversations happening back and forth between my doctor and the company through the documentation that I received from Terry on the 27th, that it noted correspondence on the 19th and the 27th. So I was not made aware that issues were had, nor was I given the opportunity to clarify those issues. I did not receive approval for FMLA until February 11th. Um, so I just wanted to note that as well.
Anything else, Ms. Harris?
No, ma'am.
Do you have any additional questions for her, Attorney Gill?
I do. Ms. Harris, as a follow-up to your testimony right there, it is true that your healthcare provider submitted additional information for consideration on January 25th, 2021. That's correct?
Additional documentation on the 25th.
No, yeah, on January 25th.
January 27th is when I received documentation.
Okay. Take a look at what's been marked as response exhibit 11.
Oh. Response 11.
Can you see that, Ms. Harris?
I can, is there a specific sheet you want me to look at, Attorney Gill?
You see that in the bottom right-hand corner references
You said bottom right-hand corner, sir?
the 282.
So bottom right hand, I don't see anything on the bottom right.
right-hand corner has a date with the fax on it. Can you see that? It's upside down, but it indicates January 25th, 2021. See that?
Yes, I see that. Mm-hmm.
And is that faxed from your healthcare provider to the company, do you believe, on January 25th?
I am not sure. Um, I can't make that out, sir.
You can't read the January 25th, 2021?
Let me see if I can flip it around.
And next to it indicates Bellin?
So I flipped it around now. Maybe that helps.
Yes, Bellin Health FMC.
Okay, so that would be a fax from your healthcare provider back to the company on January 25th, correct?
Yep, and yes, sir. Yeah, I assume that that's coming from Bellin. Yes, it has their letterhead.
Okay, I'd like you to take a look at Exhibit 12. You can take a look at page, ERD page 296. And if you flip that upside down, can you see the fax date from Bellin on that?
Yes, January 27th. I believe this would be the fax documentation that I would have, the last fax documentation I would have received.
And then it was in regard to your FMLA paperwork, correct?
Actually, all of the documents.
You can take a look at the pages 297, 298.
So this is 297. Looks like a fax cover sheet. And then this is 298.
Okay.
You can scroll through that whole exhibit as part of one packet that was faxed, which includes, if you take a look at page 302 and 303, the response back on the questions related to your PT and plastic surgery. Is that correct?
For
Okay,
the
so
27th,
this is page 302.
can you scroll up a bit, please, so I can see the fax header? 20, the 27th, yes.
Okay. I'd also like you to take a look at what's been marked as response exhibit 16, which is starts with 315.
315. You said 16, sir?
Yep, that should be on the screen now.
315.
Okay.
And this is page 315.
Yes.
Is this other fax submission from Bellin, your healthcare provider? If you take a look at page 315.
This appears to be, it appears to be, so it has the same notations as previous versions of this.
Okay, it just says your name in the top right-hand corner of page 315, correct?
315. You said on the top right-hand corner, sir?
Yep, right there.
Yes, that's my name. Mm-hmm.
And it goes to Lisa Risen at Nueske, correct, on the left-hand side? third way down the page.
That's who it's addressed to, yes. I didn't get a copy of this
And it
via
was,
email.
according to this,
So,
according to this document, it was February 22nd, 2021, correct?
yes, according to this document, yes, sir.
So isn't it accurate that the company was in constant communication with your healthcare provider, with Bellin providing clarifications and updates all the way from when you submitted the application on January 11th, 2021, up until when it was approved on February 11th?
And beyond, it appears, again, I knew nothing of these communications. The policy states that I would be given the opportunity to aid in clarification. I was not notified of any of this correspondence.
Well, you were in constant communication with Ms. Risen, right? Correct?
Yes, and when I sought out an update from Miss Risen, she said that the legal team was looking over my documentation, and B, there was clarification that was needed from my doctors.
And Ms. Risen had conditionally approved your time off when she said, go ahead and make all your physical therapy appointments and go to them, correct?
Um, I don't know if she conditionally approved my time off, given that I was using my lunch break.
According to your own testimony this morning, you had indicated that, according to Ms. Risen, she said that all this stuff would be backdated and
Backdated, yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, that's what Lisa told me. Yes, sir.
And Ms. Risen also indicated, go ahead, schedule all your PT appointments and go to your PT appointments, correct?
Yes, sir.
And at no point in time were you ever disciplined, other than your allegation that you were called back to work on December 15th from your PT appointment. Other than that, every other appointment you attended and were not disciplined for in any capacity, correct?
I did not receive disciplinary documentation. There were a few missed because of work conflicts, but no, I don't believe I have any documentation that would indicate uh disciplinary outside of the ones that I had communicated.
Okay. That since the issue of the 23rd meeting was brought up, the February 23rd meeting,
Yes, sir.
I don't know, Judge, if we went into that or not. I don't know that it's relevant to the issues related to FMLA. It's a discipline unrelated to this, but I mean, if there's going to be weight given to it, I'm happy to question on it.
You can go ahead, sure.
Okay. Ms. Harris, it's true that on February 17th, you took production paperwork home, correct?
A portion of it unknowingly, yes.
And isn't it true that USDA requirements prohibit a company from taking production documents out of the facility for purposes of certification?
I don't know if USDA prevented it. I know that HACCP records cannot be taken off site. I don't know the details on packaging documentation, but the ones that I had in my possession um, were more related to company pro company production, not necessarily HACCP.
You were previously coached that you cannot take those documents outside of the facility, correct?
Yes, sir. So I had communicated to the team that I accidentally took a camera home and had taken some documents off site and received disciplinary a documented, I think it was a documented verbal or documented warning. So that changed from years previous or even months previous because I had worked from home, and it did allow me to take documents home. This uh, recent meaning, towards I guess going into 2021, policies and procedures had changed. So previously, there was no issue with me taking documentation home. I was a supervisor, so I also had a laptop. But yes, I did. I was working, I did pre-op and left the camera in my jacket pocket. And I had also taken a portion of records home. So yes, sir.
Okay, so you knew that you couldn't do that, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I had no intentions of doing it.
And isn't it true that auditors were looking for the documents that you took home the night of the 17th, and they sent an email out to everybody within quality looking for those documents, correct?
The auditors were looking for some of the documents in the morning. Yes, I think it's something to do with like a correction on the paperwork that needed to be made,
And
if I can remember back.
isn't it also true that you lied to Song Vang that you had those in your possession on the morning of the 18th?
On the morning of the 18th, Song Vang had questioned me whether or not I had taken documents home, and I told him I didn't knowingly take documents home. So I told him no, I didn't take any documents home. This was, and that is true, this was found, Mona Craft and Song Vang called me to the office, I want to say just minutes before I had found those documents. And I did. In fear, I was not honest. Upon returning on the 23rd, I did clarify that, which is why they knew that. So I did tell Kyle and Mona that I was working from a place of fear. I'm not proud of myself. I answer to a power higher than them. And out of fear, I was not honest that day. And I told them that I found out that I had documents in my bag just before I was called up to the office, and out of fear, I said I didn't. Um, and I clarified that in our meeting on the 23rd.
So it is true that when you were questioned about it on the 18th, you blatantly lied to the company about having them in your possession. And furthermore, you attempted later that day to place them on your desk and further lied to everybody that they've been there the whole time.
No, I did not. When we were actually looking for those documents in the morning. Again, I had no idea that I had them. I was helping after the morning meeting look for those documents. And I couldn't make any rhyme or reason of it. I went in my bag, and as I was unpacking my project documents, found a portion of them. Um, I let one of the auditors know that I did have them, and we started to go through them for whatever reasons that they were looking for them. Shortly after that, I was called to the office, and I was not honest.
And just to reiterate, on the 23rd, when you met with Kyle and Mona, you indicated you admitted you lied on the 18th.
Yes, I admitted that I admitted what I just said. I told them I was not honest. I told them that I was going through my bag and I did not knowingly take documents off site. Um, when I had unpacked my bag, I did realize that I had some production documents. And out of fear, I was not honest. So I wanted to make sure I was honest because I didn't sit well with me. I pride myself on being honest. So I did communicate that to Song, and I'm sorry, I did communicate that to Mona and Kyle during that meeting. Yes.
Isn't it further true that you issued a suspension to Brett Motz for documentation issues related to production documents, where you issued him a suspension for an error in the documents and not filling them out correctly because of the requirement. Let me finish my question. Because of the requirement that USDA requires that information to be filled out and on site at all times.
Actually, that documentation was issued by myself, Song, and Kyle. And I don't know which one you're referring to. Would it have been when Brett had incorrectly documented something, or was it the falsification of records?
Okay, but you,
What are you referring to?
Ms. Harris, you understand because you actually issued a suspension to somebody else of the importance of those documents being filled out correctly and being on site, correct?
No, none of my team members took documents off of the facility, sir. So their suspensions or their documented disciplinaries were related to either them documenting not completing their job with regards to like document review. I don't believe I issued any suspensions with regards to taking production documents off site. The more recent suspension that I had issued to Rhett was related to falsification of pre-operational documents. The one prior to that was we do a label evaluation, and we had been working on redefining how that practice goes. And Brett had missed something that actually, I believe it made it out to Commerce. So because that material made it out to Commerce, and it would have been remedied on site before it made it out to Commerce if the checks were conducted appropriately. That's why he had received a write-up. And then there was another team member, Cindy Motz. She had did the same thing where she had missed a check on the line. She had missed documentation that was documented incorrectly, and that material, I believe, made it out to Commerce as well.
You understand that if the production documents, which were documents that you took off-site home with you, that the company can be cited by USDA for a violation of their permit. You understand that, correct?
Not those particular documents that I had in my possession. They're the same documents that, or some of the same documents that we allowed off-site for a clerk that was working from home. We would box those up and take those to her off-site so that she can do whatever tasks that she needed to do with those. So not, excuse me, not those particular ones.
So if there was no issue with you taking them outside, why lie about it and then come clean on the 23rd? If you're sitting here today,
so
there was no issue.
Again, that the environment at that time was very intense, and I was being watched very closely. Everything was being documented against me or being, added to the PIP, whether it was my fault or not. And like I said, I was working from a place of fear. That is not like me to communicate in that way. Like I said, I pride myself on being upfront and honest. And I was not that day. It's not one of my better moments. I was able to communicate the facts and the truth upon my return on the 23rd. I don't know what else to say regarding that other than, I was acting from a place of fear. I really was.
I know I've asked this question already, but the company requested that you return to work on the 23rd. I think you testified earlier that You received a voicemail that you should return to work on the 23rd?
Yes, I received a voicemail on the 22nd stating that I needed to come to work, not that I was being reinstated. It was to discuss my suspension
But
and essentially next
on the
steps.
20th,
Yes, sir.
in the meeting on the 23rd, they asked you to report back to work, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you decided at that point in time to quit?
I resigned. Yes, I resigned. Not immediately after. I think it was maybe an hour span. But yes, ultimately I resigned.
Okay, nothing further, Your Honor.
Do you have anything else you want to testify about, Ms. Harris?
Yes, I would like to know, Attorney Gill had brought up Exhibit 18, ERD 355, which outlined the FMLA approval or costings allocation to FMLA for that category from my work hours. I also was out of office for the
What document? Because the numbers aren't matching up.
18, I believe. Oh, I apologize. Nope, 13, and it was ERD 308.
Okay.
13,
Okay, so it's this
308, this
document right
one.
here.
Um, I did not see the same for the 15th and the 16th, which were flare-ups as well. So that would have been the week following.
Is that in here somewhere though?
No.
Okay.
Were you
So he indicated that all my hours would have been backdated and allocated to FMLA where it stood. Those are two of the dates that were FMLA related. Um, I had not been notified that it was allocated to FMLA.
I'll represent to the court that that's just for that particular pay period. As you can see, that doesn't roll into the next pay.
Oh, okay. Okay, no worries. I wasn't sure if you had more information. Okay.
Do you have anything else, Ms. Harris?
No, ma'am.
All right. Do you have any other questions for her, Attorney Gill?
No, Judge.
All right. So then, Ms. Harris, are you resting your case at this point?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I just want to go over to make sure that I've been keeping track of the exhibits that we've been mentioning. So I think from your exhibits, Ms. Harris, the only ones I did not mark into evidence were exhibit 5, 8, 13, 15, 16, 17, and 18. So all of the other documents I marked as evidence.
Could you give me one moment, please?
Sure.
And when you say mark into evidence, because they were not evaluated during these proceedings?
Right. So what I've been doing is, as we've been talking about exhibits, I've been keeping track. And that's considered marking them as exhibits. If we were in person, I would literally put a stamp on them and show it to the witness. But since we're doing this virtual, I've just been keeping track on my own. So I'm gone through and I've marked all the exhibits except exhibit 5. I don't think there was any testimony about your exhibit 5. Same thing with your exhibit 13. I don't think there was any evidence or testimony about that. Your exhibit 8, I don't think there was any testimony about that. And then exhibits 15, 16, 17, and 18, I don't think there was any evidence or any testimony about that. So those 7 exhibits, I have not marked, but everything else I have marked. And I guess my next question would be, of those that I did mark, I'm assuming you want me to consider them as evidence, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So then, Attorney Gill, do you have any objections to my receiving Complainants Exhibit 1? And I could probably show them on the screen too, if that's easier for everybody to know what we're talking about.
No objection.
All right, so Complainants Exhibit 1 is received. What about Exhibit 2? Complainants Exhibit 2, do you have any objections?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Complainants Exhibit 2 is received. Any objections to Complainants Exhibit 3?
No.
Okay, Complainants Exhibit 3 is received. Complainants Exhibit 4, any objections?
No.
Okay, Complainants Exhibit 4 is received. Like I said, there's been no testimony about Complainants Exhibit 5. What about Complainants Exhibit 6? Did you have any objections to that, Attorney Gill?
No.
Okay, so Complainants Exhibit 6 is received. Complainants Exhibit 7, any objections?
I'm sorry. No.
All right, so Complainant 7 is received. Again, there was no testimony about Complainants Exhibit 8, as far as I can recall. So then Complainants Exhibit 9, are there any objections to my receiving that document?
No.
Complainants 9 is received. Complainants 10, any objections?
No.
Complainants 10 is received. Complainants 11, any objections?
No.
Complainants 11 is received. Complainants 12, any objections?
No.
Complainants 12 is received. Again, there was no testimony about Exhibit 13. Complainants Exhibit 14, any objections?
No.
So Complainants 14 is received. We didn't have any testimony about Exhibit 15, 16, 17, or 18. But then again, Complainants Exhibit 19, any objections to my receiving that?
No.
And Complainants Exhibit, or I should say, Complainants Exhibit 19 is received, and then Complainants Exhibit 20, any objections?
It was 20, discussed in incapacity, I don't recall.
I
Yeah.
think there was some testimony, but I believe the testimony was that because she had resigned prior to getting this document, that she never submitted it to anybody at the company.
And I just,
Yeah,
relevancy of it, I mean, if it was post, I don't know what value it would provide.
well, it's noted the same date as their last correspondence with my doctor's office. So I did not receive that either. I'd prefer for it to be submitted.
I'll receive it. I agree. I don't know how much evidence or how much weight I can give it, but I'll receive it because like I said, there was testimony about it. Since Ms. Harris has rested her case, Attorney Gill, you can go ahead and put on your first witness.
Okay. Did you want to admit my exhibits or that we've already discussed or not? You want
I can do that. I didn't know if you wanted to do that now or if you wanted to do that at the conclusion of your case, but I can go through your exhibits now if you want, and we can move those into evidence as well.
Let's just do that because I think since so much came up in cross-examination, I know what I've got admitted and not. Would be
Okay.
helpful.
So for the respondent, I have complainants exhibit 2, or excuse me, respondents exhibit 2, which is the FMLA policy. Ms. Harris, do you have any objections to my receiving respondents exhibit 2?
No, ma'am.
All right, so respondents exhibit 2 is received. Respondents exhibit 3, any objections, Ms. Harris, to my receiving this document into evidence?
No, ma'am.
All right, so respondents 3 is received. I have respondents 5. Any objections to my receiving this document, Ms. Harris?
No, ma'am.
All right, so respondents 5 is received, and then respondent 6. Any objections to this, Ms. Harris?
No, ma'am.
All right, so respondent 6 is received. The next one I have is respondents exhibit 9. Did you have any objections to this, Ms. Harris?
No, ma'am.
All right, so respondents exhibit 9 is received. Then I had respondents exhibit 11. Did you have any objections to this document, Ms. Harris?
No, ma'am.
All right, so respondents 11 is received. Respondents exhibit 12. Any objections, Ms. Harris?
No, ma'am.
All right, so respondents 12 is received. Respondents exhibit 13. Did you have any objections, Ms. Harris?
No, ma'am.
Respondents 13 is received. Respondents exhibit 14. Did you have any objections, Ms. Harris?
No, ma'am.
All right, so respondents exhibit 14 is received. Let me just. Then I have respondents exhibit 15. Did you have any objections to this document, Ms. Harris?
No, ma'am.
All right, so respondents exhibit 15 is received. Respondents exhibit 16. Did you have any objections to this document, Ms. Harris?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so respondents exhibit 16 is received. And then the last document I have is respondents exhibit 18. Did you have any objections to this document?
No, ma'am.
All right, so then respondents 18 is received. Were you following along, Attorney Gill? Did I miss anything from you so far?
I don't believe so. That was helpful. Thank you, Judge.
Sure. All right then. So like I said, we can go ahead and start with the respondent's first witness unless anybody needs a short break.
Would you mind if I took a short break?
Like
ma'am?
about a 5 or 10 minute break, Ms. Harris, is that sufficient?
10 minutes would be perfect.
10 minutes? Okay, so I've got 2:35. Let's come back at 2:45 then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.